Hi guys, it's Mark Zickery, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zickery of Space Command. Lots of big news, lots of big news. But first off, I'm wearing not just a shirt with the Wayland logo, but this was a shirt that was actually used in the movie Prometheus. Now, I'm a big fan of Alien and Aliens, as many of you know, but also Prometheus is a mixture of a great movie and a really, really goofy movie. And I've talked about that before, but the good stuff is really great. And so when this came available, I got it. And because I'm, Mr. Sci-Fi, and I love all of these movies, TV shows, books, etc., which you can see behind me. A new person has joined the Space Command cast, and there's a very fun story behind it. Here's what happened. So, I'm always looking for ways to get scientific advice and so forth on Space Command and all of that. So a few years ago, there was a guy who was visiting from New York, and he was in our gym. And I walked up to him and I said, well, if you were going to bring something back from outer space that could help turn around global warming, what would it be? And he said, well, that's going to take a little bit of thought. Are you going to be here Monday? And I said, yes, I am. So Monday, I'm running on the treadmill, and the guy gets up on the treadmill next to me, and he starts walking on the treadmill and explaining what he thought up. And it was really great. It took him 30 minutes to describe it. Now, I thought it was so interesting, because we basically talked about was, he started with a theory that didn't originate with him, but the theory that because of rising climate change, the Gulf Stream would stop, and as a result, there'd be a big die-off in the oceans because the water wouldn't have sufficient oxygen in it for the animals to breathe, for the fish and so forth. So, and then what would happen is you'd get gas building up in the ocean, and it could erupt out, and you'd have a toxic cloud that would kill people. And I think something like this happened in Cameroon many years ago. And then he suggested that what you might do is you might snag an ice comet, bring it back to Earth, tether it to the pole, and that could cool down the ocean and get the Gulf Stream going again. So I said, well, that's really a cool idea. So I've been thinking about the prequel to our pilot. It was called United Planet. I've been thinking about it for some time because I wanted to use Anson Kemmer, Jack Kemmer's father, in that prequel, which takes place 30 years from now and 30 years before the pilot starts. So, Mike Harney played Anson Kemmer, and so I thought that would be great. So I sat down and I wrote it, United Planet, as both an audio play and as a graphic novel. So, and I credited this fellow who'd advised me in the graphic novel, but then I also thought, as a tip of the hat, that I would include him as a character in that audio play. So I emailed him and I said, how about this? And I didn't hear back for a while, so I thought, well, maybe he doesn't want to do it. But then yesterday he emailed me and he said, if it's not too late, I'd love to. So he not only recorded the audio, but he sent video as well. And you may have heard of him. His name is Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's probably the most famous astrophysicist in the world, and he's the host of Cosmos, and he's a great, great guy. And so he sent the video, and so I'm going to show you the video that he sent, which is so wonderful. So now we can say that Neil deGrasse Tyson is in the cast of Space Command, and so I'll set this up for you. So basically, he goes, there's an event that happens in the audio play, which you'll all be able to hear, and we'll drop Neil's audio into it, where this gas cloud erupts, kills people in New York, and Yusuf Sikander, Bob Picardo's character, who's a child at the time, his life is saved by his father. And but then so then they have Neil deGrasse Tyson on the news. They ask him what happened, and he explains what happened. And they say, well, what could stop other cases of this from hanoing? And he cooks up this ridiculous idea of bringing an ice comet to Earth. And so then, of course, Anoka Chandamal, who's a peace activist, gets Anson Kemmer to actually do it because she wants to bring all the nations of the Earth together, and this is a great way for all these different people to work together to save Earth. And so then they interview Neil deGrasse Tyson again on the on the news to get his take on that. So let me show you the two clips that Neil sent us. So here's the first one where he's talking about the event that happened in New York and what might change things back to the way they should be.
Global warming flattened the temperature gradient from the equator to the poles. You know what this does? It stops the oxygen-rich Gulf Stream from circulating back along the ocean bottom. And when that happens, it's death to all oxygen-breathing life down there. The anaerobic bacteria on the seafloor proliferates, and it excretes toxic gases that build up and erupt out of the water, poisoning all New Yorkers, and in fact, the entire east coast of North America.
And you say there will be more of these incidents?
Well, we think it's happened before, and we're on the brink of it undoubtedly happening again, unless we can somehow cool down the ocean and get the Gulf Stream running again.
How can we do that, especially considering that the polar caps have all melted?
Well, suppose you might go into space and maybe lasso an ice comet and bring it back to Earth, somehow tether it to the pole, cool down the Arctic Ocean once again.
Like a big ice cube. I saw that gag on Futurama when I was a kid. Dr. Tyson, I hate to break it to you, but Earth is not a glass of lemonade.
I said it might work, not that the idea isn't crazy.
And then here is after Anson actually does it. This is the second interview.
I always thought my plan was crazy, until someone even crazier went out and did it.
So I'm very, very grateful to Neil deGrasse Tyson for doing this. He's a hell of a guy, and we'll use the audio in the audio play. We'll draw an image of him in the graphic novel, marry them two into an animatic, and it's just thrilling. And I'm now thinking of ways to expand that so we can have more and more excitement around all of this. So that's it. So we're continuing to shoot Ripple Effect. I'm reaching out to many of your favorite actors, most of whom are agreeing to be in it, if not all. And so we're going to be premiering that in a few weeks as part of a day-long live stream online Space Command convention with panels with our actors, panels with our creative team. And we'll debut this episode. We'll show the full hour of Redemption. And now, if you haven't watched the first hour episode of Space Command, it's under the heading of the greatest Star Trek episode you're not watching, the greatest Star Trek series you're not watching. I posted it a few days ago. It's got almost 350,000 hits. Please watch it, and please send the word about it to all your science fiction friends, all your science fiction groups, all your science fiction websites and podcasts and magazines and everything, because that's how we get things to happen. And of course, there's the concept head for the Pisaras, the alien creatures in Space Command Forgiveness, that we're going to be shooting, and the first person who buys 2 shares or more of Space Command at $7,500 each gets that. And it's one of a kind, and it will certainly appreciate and value. So that's about it for now. I hope you are all staying safe and well, and we will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye, guys.